heavyweight champion, Lyndon King Arthur.
Lyndon Arthur gets it, and look at the celebration.
Boxstar Forum, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Terry L, and I'm back at y'all with another one. Slightly different surroundings, as you can see. I'm at the Boxstar headquarters. Got ESPN in the background. Now, checking on the sports, catching up on those scores. But I got some boxing news for y'all. Big fight coming up December 4th, Saturday, December 4th in London. Excuse me, in London. Lyndon Arthur defends his British title. I believe it was a Commonwealth title on a rematch against Anthony Yarde. At the Copper Box Arena. Big fight. A lot of trash talking between the men. But I got to say, this is one press conference that I can honestly say, even though it seems heated, it's been very respectful. And with what's on the line, we're going to try to dissect what I think is going to happen between the two fighters. So let's look at the implications of this fight. First and foremost, the winner of this fight most certainly will be offered the chance to fight for the WBO light heavyweight title. As we know, Anthony Yarde fought a few years ago against Kovalev for the WBO light heavyweight title in Russia, which he lost by stoppage in the 11th round. He's still highly ranked in WBO as a top 10 contender. Lyndon Arthur is also highly ranked in the WBO. So either men, if they win, it's huge for both fighters that what's on the line for them is a shot at the world title. As we know, the current WBO light heavyweight champ is Joe Smith Jr., who, as we know, is the man who defeated Bernard Hopkins. If you remember that fight, Smith Jr. was virtually a nobody. No one really knew about him, and he knocked Bernard Hopkins sensationally out the ring. Since that victory against Bernard Hopkins, after that loss, Bernard Hopkins, as we know, retired from boxing. Many said he shouldn't even have been in the ring because at 51, whatever it was when he fought, he was well past his sell-by date. So fighting at 50 in itself is impressive. So he's been on a pretty good run of form, Smith Jr., and he lost in the vacant WBA title fight against Dmitry Bivol, who is the current holder of the WBA strap. And you'd have to say that there are some serious animals at 175, guys who can really fight. The 175 light heavyweight scene is loaded, but we'll get to that in a minute. So let's talk about what's on the line. So what's on the line is a shot at the world title, WBO light heavyweight title. So it's a must-win fight for both fighters. Now, let's start with Lyndon Arthur. So Lyndon Arthur won convincingly in my book in the first fight. I wouldn't say he won by a huge margin. It was a narrow margin. I had it 114, 112. And I believe his jab was so effective and his movement and Anthony Yarde's slow start, which I was very surprised at. He took advantage of that. So by winning this fight, Lyndon Arthur has set himself up for a serious look on the world stage. And this is a huge fight for him. Even the second fight was probably bigger for him than the first fight. By virtue of him winning the first fight, it put him in contention. Now, if he wins this fight again, which a lot of people have tipped him to win in virtually the same fashion, then that will put him in the shop window to fight for a world title, which he would deserve. He's undefeated. He's in good shape. He claimed his right arm was hurt in the first fight. So that would mean he virtually beat Anthony Yarde with just purely a jab. And he did, the jab was looking beautiful. You could tell that he got to Anthony Yarde quite a few times because he snapped his head back a number of times. And you look at how his movement around the ring, his ring IQ, was very impressive in my view. The 12th round, he got clipped and he wobbled in the 12th round. That is a fact. And that was the round that Anthony Yarde stepped it up and chose to go into another gear in the 12th round. So possibly you would anticipate that Anthony Yarde will start fast early and apply the pressure. But we'll get to Anthony Yarde in a minute. Now, Lyndon Arthur will probably resort to the same sort of boxing tactic as he did in the first round. Now that he had an operation in his right arm, he's now claiming he has two healthy arms. So he's not proposing a knockout. He said a knockout, if it comes, he has the power to take Anthony Yarde out. That remains to be seen. He's predicting that it will go, if it comes by virtue of a boxing lesson, which he believes he's a better boxer than Anthony Yarde, that's how he's going to go about it. And he's very poised. I am impressed with how poised he is when he speaks. I am very impressed with how he demonstrates his composure. Even in, this is obviously the biggest fight of his career. So he's not fazed by the fact that he's fighting someone with a very big name as in Anthony Yarde. So, and also he's not from London, he's from Manchester. So he's revisiting London. So he's going back to Anthony Yarde's hometown, London, to take on the very popular fighter. Now, who's the bigger ticket seller between the two? The bigger ticket seller is obviously Anthony Yarde. The marquee name is obviously Anthony Yarde. And by there being a rematch clause after signing contract for the first fight, that means Anthony Yarde obviously is protected by the fact that his name is something that is going to carry weight. So he asked for the rematch. Anthony Yarde did. The Arthur camp, according to the Yarde camp, tried to go another route. And I love what Anthony Yarde said in the final face-off with Carl Frampton, that he doesn't blame Lyndon Arthur going another route or trying to go another route to get some more money. A fighter's career isn't very long, so if they can try to pursue a big payday, then why not? So that's very intriguing from Lyndon Arthur's point of view as to how he will present himself in this rematch. Let's go to Anthony Yarde now. So as was said before, Anthony Yarde got up to a very slow start. For those of you who don't know, Anthony Yarde had a few deaths in his family. He lost his father due to COVID. I believe he lost his mother. Well, I'm not sure if his mother. I would say, no, he definitely lost his father. I don't want to put death on his mother. But he lost his father, and I believe he lost his uncle. And I think he lost another family member. I believe there's 2 or 3 family members he lost in close succession. But I remember him losing his father because he posted, I saw it on his Instagram and someone shared that with me. It was in Twitter, I'm sorry. But anyway, dealing with death, he fought throughout that period of instability mentally. And as we know, fighters are, I wouldn't say they're fragile individuals. Fighters are human beings. Fighters are human beings just like you and I. So when things affect them outside the ring, in my opinion, that's going to obviously affect them inside the ring. It's only human nature. So to me, the fact that he fought during that period in itself is impressive. But at the time, he said he felt he had to fight to take his mind off the depressing nature of what had happened. Losing your father is not an easy thing, losing a parent. And so he lost not just one, I think he lost 3, if I remember correctly, 3 family members during the COVID period. And when he fought Lyndon Arthur, he was just coming off those family members that he lost. So that was obviously affecting him. Now, Having said that, when you look at the ability of Anthony Yarde, I was surprised that he didn't start off with pressuring or trying to cut the ring off and applying pressure on a fighter who hasn't been known. Sorry about that. Who's not known for power. However, if you rewatch that fight, then you will see that Lyndon Arthur's jab was very effective, and that could have been the reason why Anthony Yarde couldn't really apply the pressure as he wanted to earlier on in the fight. So most observers believe that Anthony Yarde will start aggressive and fast from the first bell. Anthony Yarde has also said the same thing, that he will apply pressure, he will try to dominate the fight, and dominate the fight will be by landing power shots. Anthony Yarde still believes he won the first fight. And most fighters will believe that. Even in his honest assessment, he still believes he won the first fight. So he will have to apply pressure, and he will have to bring something different to the game. How different it will be in the second fight is yet to be seen. Now, in regards to Anthony Yarde's boxing ability, as we know, he's an inexperienced fighter in the sense that he didn't have a big amateur career, nor did Lyndon Arthur in some respect. He didn't have a long amateur career. Both fighters have started boxing late in their careers. They started, Lyndon Arthur started at the age of 19 years old, and Anthony Yarde started boxing at the age of 18, which in boxing terms is quite old, because most boxers will be fighting amateur at sometimes 10, 12, or even 14 or 15 years old. So in your teenage years, you can fight a lot of amateur fights, a lot of valuable amateur fights. But to fight at 18, 19 years old, you're virtually a man. And you could be going up against amateurs who, in most cases, would have a huge amount of amateur experience behind them. Anthony Yarde's amateur experience is only about 12 fights in total, and he won all of them virtually by knockout. So, and as a pro, every fight that he's won, he has won by knockout. Okay. Anthony Yarde has only been the distance once in his professional career, and that was a loss to Lyndon Arthur. So you could look at it a few ways. You can say that the only time he's ever really been...
Yarde again has got to go through the gears, throw more shots, make Arthur work a little bit more.
It's good work from Arthur.
Lyndon Arthur in the first fight was his loss to Kovalev in Russia, which was 11 rounds where he got stopped. So he doesn't have a lot of rounds under his belts. That would allude to the fact that he's inexperienced as a professional. And his boxing style, because he's such a dominant fighter and the level of opposition he's fought has led him to knock these guys out. It kind of gives you that's, I won't say false sense of security, but it gives you that premonition that you have to always knock the guy out, or that's what you're prone to do. Mike Tyson had that for a while. He was always knocking guys out. So when he wasn't knocking people out, then it sent signals around the boxing world as all you got to do is take Mike Tyson past 8 rounds, and then he might be yours. If you take him past 7 rounds and he doesn't knock you out, you got a good chance of winning the fight. So when you find a knockout specialist, the longer the fight goes on, the fight favors the boxer. And I think this fight is no different. I think Anthony Yarde will feel within himself that he has to knock out Lyndon Arthur. And I think if he wins in sensational fashion, it will be a huge victory for Yarde and a huge relief and a sign of redemption in some respects, because he's no longer winning he hasn't won a fight where he's barely scraped by. Lyndon Arthur has said the right things. He just needs to win. However that win comes, whether it comes from landing 2 hands and throwing small combinations, moving around the ring, tagging him for 12 rounds, keeping him at bay with his jab, because he has a beautiful jab, then that should be a repeat of the first fight. So the implications, as I said before, is both fighters know they have to win. That makes it for a mega fight. Second of all, the winner gets a shot at what every fighter wants, a world title shot. Now let's look at the implications of the loser. If Lyndon Arthur loses this fight, then I believe that he gets marginalized and isolated or iced out of the world rankings. It almost goes into no man's land and then has to fight the sort of national or UK circuit or European circuit for a while, or scrape by some wins or rack up some wins to get back into contention. Because he's not a big name, and in the boxing sense, because of politics and finance, he's not a huge ticket seller, then, and he's not known to be a knockout specialist, so no one's not really going to get excited about his name outside of this fight, then it may be a long road for him to come back. He's a great fighter. If you look at his boxing ability, I think he's a really good boxer. For Anthony Yarde, if he loses, I don't think it's going to be as detrimental for him. A, because he's still a marquee fighter in the sense that he has a name. He's fought for a world title, so people around the world know of him. Even if he may be disregarded by others in the boxing world because he's lost again, if he loses again, that is, to a man that was virtually unknown, or a jab specialist, however you want to describe Lyndon Arthur, that may be difficult for the management team behind Anthony Yarde to resell him. So he would need to get by, maybe have a few impressive knockouts, maybe have a tougher fight or tougher opponent here and there, maybe go in there with another lion at 175 and see how he fares, and that might put him back on the map. That leads me to my final point about the different animals, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, about guys at the 175 limit. And let's just examine them right now. So WBO the whole of the WBO is, as I mentioned, is Smith Jr. The biggest name to Smith Jr. really is Bivol, because he lost in a title fight to Bivol, and he beat Bernard Hopkins. Those two big names he has his resume. So he's fought at the world title stage a number of times. He's fought for WBO light heavyweight title, which he's won. He only has 3 losses to his name. Credible opponent. I mean, his very first loss, he lost early in his career after about his 5th or 6th fight. But since then, he just moved up the rankings. He's pretty much progressively moved up, and he got a shot at fighting Bernard Hopkins, a fight that everyone thought Bernard Hopkins would win. By beating Bernard Hopkins, he's actually done better, and he's improved as a fighter. And then the real animal at light heavyweight is, I always get his name wrong, but let me have another shot at it. Better Birov, if I'm saying that right, but y'all know what I'm talking about. B. This guy, he just looks like one of those guys where if you watch his fight, I've watched about 4 or 5 of his fights. He looks like one of those guys you meet in the bar and you hit him with something after you've taken their drink and they just look at you like, is that all you got? And then they come at you again with some mad stuff. I mean, like a mad animal, and you think, my God, I gotta hit this guy with a brick now. He's that type of guy. Like you stole his drink at the bar, and now he's gonna try and knock your head off your shoulders. That's the guy that you approach with caution. You know what I mean? He's 16-0, but he's an absolute beast. But all these fighters are beatable. But that aside,
John, the pace is probably suiting Arthur a little bit better. I think Anthony Yarde will soon realise that he's got to up the pace a little bit here, probably go through the gears a little bit more.
Their confidence could be affected outside the ring, especially in this case, if it's affected by something that happened inside the ring. And as I mentioned, Anthony Yarde was obviously affected, as he mentioned before, about what happened outside the ring when he fought Lyndon Arthur. Now, to be affected by something inside the ring and take it outside the ring and then try to regroup and then find your way of how you're going to do something differently, that could be very difficult for a lot of fighters. So I definitely see the onus of the pressure is more on Yarde than it is on Arthur. Okay. Now, what really happens in this fight in terms of the tactical awareness and the tactical ability of this fight, the first 6 rounds is where it's going to be the tail of the fight. This is my prediction. If Lyndon Arthur survives the first 6-round onslaught, he wins the fight. Okay? So, in other words, if he doesn't get knocked out within the first 6 rounds, his confidence will grow. Both men are in great condition, great shape. He will know that the onslaught will come from Yarde because he seemingly has the gears to go up another level later on in the fight, as he showed in the previous fight. Although he did get to Yarde did get off to a slow start, so it will be imperative for Yarde to get off fast and try to maintain that. Now, here's the danger in that: if Yarde doesn't get him out of there within the first 6 rounds, within the first 8 rounds, and let's say he's spent in terms of he's used up most of his energy in the first 8 rounds, then it could be an easier fight for Lyndon Arthur from round 8 onwards, depending on how much energy Anthony Yarde dispels in the first 8 rounds of trying to get him out of there or really hurt this man. Now, with Lyndon Arthur, he's just going to have to sit on his punches and go with his combinations and stay behind the jab. If he somehow gets caught up in a dogfight, then there's only going to be one winner in that respect, because that's not Lyndon Arthur's game plan. That's not how Lyndon Arthur fights. He's someone that lives and dies behind the jab. It's clear as day. In all his fights, that's the sort of boxing technical capabilities that he possesses. His trainer is a very good trainer, a former boxer himself, for a world title. So a very experienced fighter, was a very experienced fighter, and is a very experienced coach. And his tactical ability, his tactical brain, I'm very impressed with. Now the corner, Anthony Yarde has added another voice. I call him Mr. Cook. He's someone I've known through the boxing circles that I've become accustomed to, the different boxing circles that I'm a part of here in the UK. So that's how I know of him. And he's an experienced guy, knows he's a calm influence, and he will be a calm influence in the corner of Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde definitely needed that. No disrespect to Tundai, a guy who I've come to know over the last 5 or 6 years. He's a very good guy, a former boxer himself, fought at welterweight, I believe it was. Didn't have a long career, but he's had a long career as a coach. So he's someone who's experienced on that level. But Anthony Yarde's camp is a very young camp. But they've fought at world title level, so they have experience in that regards. But the boxing community hasn't really been in Tundai's favor, nor in Anthony Yarde's favor, because they believe that they don't provide the best boxing information to Anthony Yarde in the corner between the rounds. I have to say that I sort of favor that view a little bit. And that's purely because I've seen the way that Anthony Yarde came out in between the rounds of this fight. There didn't seem any sense of urgency from the corner. I mean, obviously they believe, I spoke to Tundai personally. Tundai believes that that Anthony won that first fight. And he believes that the judges got the decision wrong. I disagreed, and we respectfully had a conversation on the phone about it. But, I'm very intrigued about how Anthony Yarde will start out in this second fight. Now, if this becomes an issue where it's close again and Yarde wins, I don't think it's going to be a rematch. It can't be a rematch because Frank Warren will just push the victor onto a world title fight. There won't be any issue for either camp to allow the other fighter to go and pursue a world title, especially if Lyndon Arthur wins again. So it's very intriguing. The stage is set. December the 4th, London, Copper Box Arena. Let's see what happens. I will be watching the fight. I'll definitely pay to watch that fight. Unfortunately, Boxstar couldn't get the press pass to be there on this occasion, but we're going to keep pushing, and hopefully y'all see us on one of the next fights, interviewing these fighters before, during, and after their fights. Also, we will keep you posted about a fight that's coming up between Chris Eubanks Jr. and Liam Williams. The fight was postponed this month, and now it's been pushed back to January 29th. So that's a mega fight that will be happening in the UK to kick off 2022. That's all I got for y'all right now. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Rika Property Management and Boxford UK. Leave your comments below. Hit the bell icon. Subscribe to the channel. Tell me what you think. Big fight. Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur 2. That's all I got for y'all right now. Until then, stay up, stay peaceful, stay blessed. Peace.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Yarde can't hit what his hands